Good morning, good morning, B.
Good morning. How you doing, Mama? How you doing?
Good. How are you? I'm a glass
I'm
of
great.
shade.
I'm great. Great. Welcome everybody to the show. It's good to see you. It's good to be seen. This is the 42nd installment of the In This Season podcast. Originally started. There you go. There you go. This was originally started, y'all, from a uh just an acknowledgement of African American history and Black History Month in February. And here we are, um, you know, 42 days later. So we've obviously gone over that and past that short. Oh no, it was a little longer this month of this leap year of February. Obviously past that month and on into March. It is now March 13th, and we're on our 42nd day. So congratulations, Mom, and congratulations to everybody that's attended so far. How you feel about
Congratulations to you, Brandon, as well. Congratulations to you as well.
mm. So what's
All
going on?
right.
What's going on with you?
It's good. You guys, it's getting better. It's getting, they say it gets greater later.
Uh-huh.
Stay the course. I guess the distance gets shorter if you keep going. Keep going to California, keep traveling, keep going. You get there sooner than later, right? Or you get there.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm getting up. I feel like I should be tired, but I'm not. But I feel like, based on what that yesterday looked like and the day before, I'm like, where are you getting this energy from?
Mm-hmm.
But I got it and I'm going to keep it and I accept it. I approve this message, right?
Hey, I co-sign that. I co-sign that.
Yeah,
We were talking yesterday. I remember something you said after the volunteer work that we did yesterday, which was great, by the way. That was amazing. We can tell y'all more about that. But I remember uh, you said, son, you look like you ain't missed a meal. During the volunteer work.
right.
This is the month of Ramadan, and we're fasting from food and water during the daylight hours for 30 days or more, or just depending on how things look by the end of the month. But I just remember you saying, you don't seem like you're missing
Right.
anything.
Right.
Now, granted, I take a hell of a nap in the middle of the day, and I love it. I almost can't do without it right now. I don't know what it is about a nap as of recent, but naps have changed my experience in life. It kind of gives me a recharge in the middle of the day. And it gives me a little bit more leeway during the night, during the nights of Ramadan, when we're supposed to stay up and kind of pray and read our Quran and things like that. So, and reflect. So I've been able to do some of that and still get my sleep in whenever I can, whether it be the middle of the day or at night. So I'm just grateful to be able to have that energy and still wake up and to be able to come here and kick it with all of you good, fine people. So thank you, Mom, for giving this platform. Want to jump right into it?
All right. Everything's good on your Instagram? You
Everything's
went
good on my
live.
Instagram. We are
Okay.
live.
All right. Let's jump right into it. I got everything ready to go here. So let's get
All right,
going. Do what you do, B.
let's do it. So guys, if you haven't been with us, and I'm sure all of you have, right? Like everybody's here, unless you invited somebody. If this is your first time, we are going through the book Daily Motivations for African American Success. You see it right there. This book has changed us, y'all. This book is following us around, as my mother says. It is a powerful book of motivations with an affirmation and with a powerful quote from a distinguished African American. um, if you have not gotten this book and you're with us and you've been here every day or just a few days, or if it's your first time, please go get this book, support this author, because we are going through it every day, reading his words, reading his work, his hard work and effort that's been a benefit to us. So please go back and support that author. We don't make anything from the purchase of this book. We don't make anything from this show. This is purely out of our heart and out of the grace of God. Really, like, this is just something. I think that's really where we get this energy in the morning, waking up every day and coming back here, because Lord knows I didn't know whether I would be able to do it, considering, the other things that I have going on. So I'm so happy for this. So daily motivations for
Brandon,
African. Mhm.
Brandon, ask you to start reading from the very, very top of the back book? Could you read that part too, that little section above where you
Sure,
start?
sure,
Thanks.
absolutely. It says, if there is any power that can reverse the fortunes of race, it is character. Every thought which enters our mind, every word we utter, every deed we perform makes its impression on the innermost fiber of our being. Incredible, right? So that's a quote directly from Dennis Kimbro. And just to give you guys kind of an overview of what the book is about, daily motivations for African American success will help you focus on the thoughts, attitudes, and deeds that'll lead you to the achievement of your true goals. So, in 365 short, powerful motivations, one for each day of the year, Dennis Kimbro, author of the popular Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, leads us to discover how to use the present moment and our own gifts to transcend labels, cultivate a positive attitude, become wise enough to know when to say yes and when to say no, and to look inward for answers to life's challenges. Each motivation begins with words of wisdom from such distinguished and celebrated African Americans as Malcolm X, Marion Wright Elderman, Charlene Hunter Gall, Mother Hale, Reverend Leon Sullivan, and hundreds of others. This treasure trove of practical inspiration will give you fresh encouragement every day of the year, but what it teaches you will last a lifetime, will last you a lifetime. So I can actually, I can definitely attest to that and co-sign that because, I've been reading this book now for what, like maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe more. I think, no, more than that. I've had this book and I would pick it up and then put it down, pick it up and put it down. But this is the first time I can say that consecutively that I've read this book for 42 days straight. So
Mm.
thank y'all for, I know, right? Like, thank y'all so much for encouraging us, for participating with us, and for rocking with us this whole time. And I hope it is as much a benefit to you, your family, and your circumstances as it has been to mine. I love this book.
I do too. I
Yeah.
do too.
All right, let's get into it. Yeah.
Yes, let's get into it.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Hey, shout out to everybody who's coming in on the comments on Instagram Live. Uh, Shout out to all my people from Alexis to L Sykes to Cam, Killer Cam, who's on my MMA team, Law School MMA. Shout out to Law School MMA. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for rocking with us. All right. So today's title for today's passage is titled "Instant Credit." Instant credit on this March 13th, and our word of wisdom or our quote from such a distinguished African American comes from Charlene Hunter Galt, who is a news reporter. And Charlene said, "My father always told me that I was the best, that there was no one better than me. Being able to define myself is something I attribute to my father and his positive arrogance.
Mm.
My father always told me I was the best, that there was no one better than me. Being able to define myself is something I attribute to my father and his positive arrogance." How about that? So instant credit is the title for today. Mom, I already see you grabbing your pen and your pen. You
I
ready?
told y'all, look, if y'all don't want it and it ain't gonna get it, mama gonna get it and want it.
Yeah, I'm right there
And
with you.
I'm
I think I
not
got the
too
same pen.
old to get it. Right. I ain't too old to get it like yesterday. I'm gonna get mine. I'm gonna
Hey,
get yours if you don't want it.
you
So
get yours. You get yours.
yeah, I told and whoever don't want theirs, I'm getting theirs too.
That's how it
Right?
is. Like we really look at this like a cookout, guys. And like I said, you don't have to be black to get a plate. Like come to the cookout. But trust me, if it's over, if there's leftovers, we taking it home. You know what I mean? So everybody's invited to the cookout. If you buy this book and you rocking with us, and you want to grow, then come on, you can folk. Come on
You know,
over, get you a plate. But if not, we're gonna take the rest of this food home.
right. And if we all heal, black, blue, brown,
It don't
beige,
even
whatever
matter.
color, that's how you heal racial, um, the racial issues that we face. and the internal things that we face, but we try to avoid. So I'm gonna say it again. If you don't want yours, hey, put it on my plate. I got an extra plate. I got extra glass. Shoot. I want mine pen and all. Y'all think we here teaching? No, I'm learning. I'm learning. So let's do it, B. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
I just saw with how much fervor you picked up that pen. You was like, oh, okay, yeah, let me underline that. I was like, okay. I mean, I'm reading it
It's
over here.
so hard not to read these because instant credit, I was thinking it was going to talk about uh rate, the credit with race, as we as African Americans and the experience. And there is a thing, like there is there's this thing I feel, and I've seen it, especially doing what I just finished doing. There is still some racial, I guess, inequalities or thing that goes on behind the scenes as it relates to race. I've seen it. So, y'all, we got a lot of work to do, but let's do this one first. And if you
Yeah,
don't want
man.
the food on your plate, save it for me. I'll
We
bring the
can
Tupperware and all. So
we can,
let's
and
do
there's
it.
a history of it, right? Like from
Yes,
redlining black
yes.
communities.
And
Um,
injustice anywhere.
there's a threat to justice everywhere. So
Okay, let's do
facts
it,
on
B.
that. All right, let's do it. Instant credit. The ego craves appreciation and receives pleasure from the approval of others. Approval, praise, and love are the great motivators in life. When we're patted on the back, we feel happy and worthwhile. When we're criticized, we feel inadequate or out of balance. Why do we feel good when we're praised? Because praise is an acknowledgement and confirmation of our worth. Praise tells us that we are respected, needed, and appreciated, that we belong.
Mm.
So often we withhold praise. Sometimes it's because we don't want to appear patronizing or too personal. At other times, we simply don't make the effort. We forget that everyone enjoys appreciation, a pat on the back, a word of praise. So praise others, and don't forget to praise yourself when you deserve it. The best way to appreciate your friends, said Michael Epsey, Secretary of Agriculture, is to imagine yourself without any. Again, the best way to appreciate your friends is to imagine yourself without any. And North Carolina Mutual Insurance founder Charles Clinton Spaulding lived by the maxim, a slap on the back often pushes out the chest. It is so easy and so pleasurable to participate in someone's life by saying a few constructive words. Sincere praise takes little effort and less time, but the effect is enormous and immediate. The recipients of your praise will hold their heads higher and try a bit harder to confirm your opinion. You will feel a glow from the warmth that you've spread. And the affirmation for today is, well, we read it how many times, Mom? Three times, three times. One for me, one for you, and one for the person you're going to send this to. And it is, I will give praise where praise is due. Short, simple, and sweet. I will give praise where praise is due. Now say this one more time to yourself. I will give praise where praise is due. So y'all have the courage to give praise to yourself and others, uplift yourself and others, compliment people where they deserve it. I'm not saying go and give any you know empty praise or undeserving praise, but man, when you see somebody do something great or when you achieve something, pat yourself on the back. Give your friend a round of applause. Tell somebody else something good about somebody else instead of bringing them a bone to put a skeleton in somebody else's closet. You know what I mean? Or take a bone out of the skeleton in somebody else's closet. Like, don't let's give each other that credit where credit
Mhm.
is due. So, what do you think about this passage, Mom?
Mhm. Mhm. Well, I started at the top. My father, my father, my father, my father, my father. I cannot
Is that
say
what
that
picked up
enough.
that pen?
Well, I picked for the father and for the arrogance. Those are the words I wanted to, because that word is interesting. I attribute to my, well, all of the, let me go back to define myself is something I attribute to my father and his positive arrogance, right?
Right.
There's a whole lot in that quote, right? My father, because y'all, I believe there's some humor there from God as it relates to fathers and mothers. We carry them as women, but there's something about the fathers. There's something in the words spoken from a father. Without getting too deep, this is why I feel that there is the Bible speaks about if a father passes away and there's a brother, is crazy that may sound to us, that the brother should step in, right? The brother
Mm-hmm.
of that
Mm-hmm.
father. And I feel it's because in this time in my life, when I first heard that, I was like, what? But in this time in my life, I believe because brothers should have the same characteristics, the same goals typically as each other. They should be kind of mirror each other, their values, their culture. So, right.
Right.
So maybe it's because that brother would step in with those same things, right? Not thinking about
Mm-hmm.
all the other stuff. But there's something grand about fathers. And I'm going to say that without taking away anything from the women, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm reminded of a story, true story. It made news where this young man was in an accident. And I'll be quick. Mom it could have been a fatal accident, but he was in a coma. Mom went to the hospital, did not leave, right? That's what mothers do. Did not leave the hospital. Dad was in and out, in and out. And when he came to himself, when he awakened out of the coma, he turned to his mom and said, Mom, can I have some water? Dad, I love you, right? And
Mm.
she felt some kind of way. She was like, I've been, and she was honest about it. I've been sitting here every day. Your dad's been in and out. But that's just the way it is, right? The natural order. And it didn't mean he didn't love his mom. It just was a different thing. So that's why I picked up, because my father always told me that I was the best, that there was no one better than me. Being able to define myself is something I attribute to my father and his positive arrogance. Now, I don't know if I've ever seen positive before arrogance
Mm. Right.
in a
It's
sentence.
always connotated as negatively, right?
Right, right. So I have to dig deeper into that one. Then
Mm-hmm.
I'll quickly mention the word ego, as it craves appreciation and receives pleasure, right? So I'll tell people, monitor, examine, and redesign your ego, I guess I would say. And then sincere praise. Sincere is my word there, because so often, y'all, we give praise where praise ain't due, where we should be having a conversation rather than praising someone. We need to stop praising bad behavior, um, and all of that stuff. Stop praising the ego in the person,
Yeah.
because it says sincere. There's truly a difference. I will give praise where praise is due. He finalizes this thing in the end, in the affirmation, where it's due. And sometimes we give it knowing that it's not due, just for our own ego or for the mask.
Mm.
So there's a lot in this one. I'm going to turn it over to you, because I'm sure you're going to say something that helps me dig or bring something else out of this. But that's my instant take on it. Instant credit, right?
Instant credit. Um, my take on this is similar to what you have. I did find a distinction in the positive arrogance,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's context that has to be unpacked, right? Like with positive arrogance, because arrogance is something that's looked at as a like we said, a negatively connotated word, right? And the word
Mm-hmm.
arrogance, according to Webster's dictionary, basically it comes from a root of arrogans, right? Arrogans, which means in Latin overbearing, right? It means to be overbearing with something, or and it's kind of defined as an overbearing sense of superiority or yeah, or overbearing sense of superiority, or uh, an assumption, right? An assumption of greatness. Now, if we look at it from the text of African American, and how, for example, in hip hop, there's a culture of bravado, right? Like when you hear hip hop, there's a culture um, of boasting oneself up to this bravado, and this it can be seen as arrogance, right? But this kind of giving yourself instant credit all the time, right? And some hip hop, but that's just a part of the culture, right? Or in sports, for example, the successful ones usually have this competitive edge and this almost assumptive belief in themselves. Like, I'm going to win. I'm going to make this shot. If it's down to the last couple seconds past me to rock, I'm going to shoot it, and I'm going to win the game. Having that confidence in yourself, I think, directly impacts the outcomes. But I also think it can be something that like an alchemist. So, for example, before my fights, or before fights in general, for the guys that fight with me and do MMA, when I hear guys say, man, I'm really nervous before a fight, I tell them, no, man, I don't know if you're nervous, but I guarantee you you're excited. Like, that's excitement. That's, use that energy for yourself instead of really against yourself. And it's okay to be nervous, but just know that that's normal. Now, taking it back to African Americans, um, in many situations, how could arrogance be positive, right? How could it be
Mhm.
positive? Well, for African Americans who, in the Western context, specifically in America, considering chattel slavery, so much was done to take away the ego. So much was done to strip away the distinctions of individuality, right? Because they were looked at as
That's good.
property. Yeah,
Mhm.
So tell them that they weren't this, that they weren't that. No, your name is Toby. No matter how many times you say your name is Kunta Kinte, you know. And then they, whipping you with this metaphorical, like, society that tells you you're less than, that tells you the communities that you live in are less than, it tells you your banking opportunities or access to credit are less than, your potential and upward mobility are limited, because of this racial element, and the history, or the perceptions. So if there's perceptions and assumptions being made to one way, on one side of the scale, then what do you think balances it on the other side of the scale? A positive arrogance, I imagine. A positive, even positive arrogance to me almost means, how dare you think so much of yourself? How dare you think that you can do great things? After all of this, after all you've been through, how dare you pat yourself on the back? How dare you expect to achieve such wild and lofty goals? And if you notice, to be honest with you, in America, each generation that I'm seeing seems less and less confident in themselves, less
Yeah.
and less secure in their own abilities. Um, there's like a culture of putting themselves and others down, and sometimes they wear a coat of a coat of I won't say arrogance, but more like a coat of disinterest, right? Like, it's not because I'm not confident in myself, it's because I'm not interested. I really just don't want to do that. I really just don't care about my schoolwork. I really just don't. And I don't think it's that. I think it's more than that. And knowing about social media and the advent of social media, and the direct correlation that has on suicide rates, and chronic depression in children, and children consume more media than anything, right? So think about what we're giving to these children. What type of credit they're getting? Is it good credit, or is it bad credit? And how does that impact their lives? Now, in the sense of this
Mm,
passage, you know what I mean?
that's
Um, the instant credit can go both ways, and the ego craves appreciation and receives pleasure from the approval of others. So what's being promoted? Is it being promoted that, like you told me, you make reference to the stories of children not wanting to make good grades because it's
Mhm.
not cool,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
now imagine me moving back to Memphis, coming from schools in Florida, um, a military kind of lifestyle in a sense, uh, where achievement
Community.
was yeah, it was very, it was almost utopian in the sense that there was a sense of community on in these military bases, and for the families, and children that were in these military families. And so when I remember moving back to Memphis, because I was born here in Memphis, but moving back to Memphis, I didn't see that same um, pride. I didn't see that 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 um, that honor, that expectation of honor, that expectation of doing well and achievement. Right. I noticed that there was a difference between the confidence, you know, down in the Florida school systems and the confidence that students had in the school system in Memphis, and the faith that they had in their teachers, the faith that they had in their community, the faith that they had in all these different things. And in Memphis, I don't know if anybody from Memphis knows what this is, but we have this thing called checking, right? Checking, where like we will check each other, like we will talk each other down about our shoes, like what are those, like you can't come looking crazy, to the point to where like people are getting checked so much to where I think that's the real reason why they started making us wear uniforms, because they're saying people are getting bullied, but we literally at it like a almost like a sign of love.
Oh, we lost him. All right. So while he gets back in, not sure what's going on there. Let me get my glasses. I'll pick it right up because I wanted to get in. Brandon mentioned that he didn't see the same honor in people when he um, moved back to Memphis. And I remember grown-ups, when they found out I was moving back to Memphis, were like, why are you going back to Memphis? It's crazy there and all of that, right? But as he mentioned, he didn't see it as a child or as a young man in the schools. I didn't see it when I came back into work, right? I didn't see it in the people who looked like me. And I'm going to be very honest here. I felt like the people who looked like me when I went to work, and even outside, they looked at me like, who do you think you are? Because
Yeah,
I wanted it. I was gonna take advantage of anything they offered free. And I say they, right? The
yeah,
job or whatever, anything that was going to elevate me, I'm taking it. I don't feel like if I never use it, but I'll have it, right? And so on the opposite side, where the people didn't look like me, I also felt like they were saying, who do you think you are? Like, you coming in here, you want to do this and you want to do that. And
yeah,
you seem to be this way and this way. They didn't say it verbally, right? But you guys, I thank God, I am aware. I've always been aware, and I can pick up on people, what they're thinking. People will always tell you what they don't say if you just listen to what they do say, right? They always will. You just have to listen. So Brandon, I don't know what happened, but I just wanted
yeah. I
to,
don't know what
I was
happened.
piggybacking off of some of the things that you had said. Um, and the other one, humans looked at, we were humans, or our ancestors, maybe still now by some, that were looked at as property.
Yeah,
Imagine that, guys. Imagine what our ancestors had to endure for us to be able to sit here and do this. And so, how dare you not come with your glass or with your plate and
right,
take it all, eat it all? How dare you? Because there were people who, on their plates, they only got a chance to get the scraps. Where do you think chitlins come from?
right,
Give this to the property, which were humans. And these same people, some of these same people served the same God that we serve. So you see how the mind can be
so they
twisted,
say.
because I could not do that to my enemy. So over to you.
Yeah, yeah. I completely agree with your mom. And like I got just had my boy Corbin Carpenter join in on the live on Instagram. He went to high school and college with me. And like so he understands
Who's that?
the Corbin Carpenter.
I,
I don't know if you
okay, okay.
yeah, you
Friends
know
with
Corbin.
friends with Justin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
They line brothers. So shout out to Corbin, man.
yeah.
Appreciate you stopping through, man. Um he knows the culture of checking that we had, at Ridgeway. And somewhat that still exists today, but I think it's a lot lighter. But I remember at Ridgeway at the same time, I remember walking into Ridgeway and seeing how segregated it was. Like all the black kids sat in a general area. All the white kids sat in a general area. The Mexicans were a little corner in the back, but they was growing quick, so they started taking up more and more space. And then the Asian people had the other corner over there, and they all sat together. And I just remember feeling like, man, like this is very different from the military base that I came from, and where there was this cohesion, this culture of, yeah, we all on the same team. And I come to Ridgeway, I was like, it's so many different factions and teams. And then I remember, I was considered a quote unquote smart dude, and that was not what was looked at as the cool thing, right? But at the same time, I always had this like kind of extroverted personality and was always a people person. So I got friends quickly, but they weren't just of one group. I had a lot of Jewish friends. I had of course, a lot of African American friends. I had a lot of white friends, and I was even cool with the Mexicans. Like I remember, I don't know if you remember, Mom, but Miss Ford, the Spanish teacher that I didn't like, she used to pick on Jose Espinosa, and he knew Spanish because he was fresh off. He was fresh over the border. And she was telling him that he didn't know how to speak Spanish. You know what I mean? So like I just remember like some of our teachers talking down on us, but I also remember very uplifting teachers, but they seem to be far and few in between, right? And so those teachers really
Mhm.
stick out to me, and I thank them because they were like Dr. Brewer, Mr. Carr. They were telling us, no, you not only do I expect you to do great things, but I know you can do great things, that you're already great. And so that there was a different expectation from them. There was a different motivation from them. There was a different style of them patting us on the back and giving us the instant credit of our potential required. Right. So I think in one way we have to look at each other and ourselves based on what our potential is and hold ourselves to that bar. Like, man, do you know how great you could be? So those are the type of things that I speak to my brothers. Like, hey man, like congratulations on what you're doing. So what's next? What's next? Like my brother Corbin over there, like every time we talk, it's something about, you know, what's going on in a positive light. Every time I have a fight, he and his father support or sponsor, you know what I mean? They buy tickets as close as they can get it. Like, how much that means to me? That I have family members that don't come to see my fights, and his brother and his father like come every time that they can if it's anywhere within reach. Like that means the world to me. That motivates me to do better. It motivates me to train harder, because now the wind beneath my sail isn't just my own, but I got my friends riding with me. I got somebody that I know looks to this and finds some type of inspiration, and I find the same inspiration in him and them and others that practice the same thing. So it says something powerful in here I want to get to, that says, they said, the best way to appreciate your friends is to imagine that you don't have any. Imagine that you don't have any. Like, how would your life be if you didn't have those people, that encourage you? They say you're the average of the five people you hang around most. If those people are knocking you down every day, if those people are telling you to do the same old stuff that's led you nowhere, then who will you be, right? You'll be the same person that knocks people down, that doesn't give credit where credit is due, and you'll be in the same place that you were a year ago. So I think giving each other the instant credit, giving each other the praise and the credit where it's due is powerful. It's encouraging. It allows people the freedom to be great in a situation where it's easy to succumb to the narrative that's being put out there, because we didn't tell that story, right? Like we didn't tell the story of, hey, I'm just a nigga, I'm just a ignorant, I ain't gonna do nothing. Like I just want, like the base instinct things at life and have these low expectations. We didn't create that narrative. But I do think as time goes forward, we're starting to really perpetuate that. Um, or I won't say we'll perpetuate it, but we don't own it, if that makes
Mm,
sense. We'll perpetuate it, but we don't own it. Like, for example, I always say, like in the city of Memphis, a lot of times, like, Black people are in charge. We're in positions of power, whether it be certain seats or elected offices. We're in or no, we're in charge, but we're not in power, right?
mhm.
Like Black people have positions where they take charge and they have charge, so they're in charge by position. But man, let me show. I've worked in it. The power is in them dollars. It's in them families that's been around for generations, right? So but you can tell when somebody walks in, like we had a mayor a couple mayors ago, where people just thought he was, like he was just like he was arrogant in a sense, right? Like, how dare you think so much of yourself, right?
Mm,
And I'm talking, and this brother would be like if they said something crazy to him in the interview, he was like, "Look, we can take this outside, but you ain't gonna disrespect me." And for me, I'm not saying I agree with everything the brother did, and I'm not saying I disagree. I'm saying that I respected that brother, though.
me too.
I respected that brother. I respected that he stood on morals, that he stood on what he believed in, whether I agreed or not. And I think now I see so many people shifting, right? And like trying to play both sides and all sides, and really not pleasing themselves or anyone else. And I say to those brothers, it's not to give a critical point. I love to say, hey, the good that we're doing, they're doing, should be noted, right? And we should motivate that. We should also hold them accountable. But for ourselves, there always has to be this self motivation, this patting on the back, and then giving that to other people. I think that's the difference between like a positive arrogance and a negative arrogance. A positive arrogance is when you think that you're the only one in the world that has the potential to do anything great. And I think a positive arrogance is where you're like, I know that I have, that I can do anything I put my mind to, but I also know that everyone else has that same potential. I just chose to take advantage of it. Right. So I
Right.
think that that's a reflexive part of that positive arrogance.
So, Brandon, as we work to bring it to a close, I want to go back and read the quote again. My father always told me that I was the best,
Mm-hmm.
that there was no one better than me. Being able to define myself is something I attribute to my father and his positive arrogance. I think where positive arrogance comes in at is he's saying where my father told me that there was no one better than me, that I was the best.
Mm-hmm.
So I've looked up this positive arrogance. It says arrogance can actually be positive. Think about arrogance in a different mindset, living your life on your own terms, taking up a stand for something, and being independent. It's about breaking the stereotypes and stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Positive arrogance, kind of dancing to the beat of your own drum, knowing those beats, right? Knowing
Right.
the beats. Maybe you're a drum, your beats is from a drum. Maybe someone else's beats is from a guitar, or music is from a guitar, piano, whatever that is. So positive arrogance is really about living your life on your own terms. So in his father telling him
Mm-hmm.
this, number one, he's creating a different mindset for his son because it's coming from, again, a man, father. I'm
Yes,
telling
sir.
y'all, there's something about fathers, and we have missed the mark. We have missed the mark. So, men, I'm telling you, there's something about your presence that this world needs, whether you're a drum, a guitar, whatever that is. So, my father always told me that I was the best, that there was no one better than me. This is the part, being able to define myself. So, he was able to define himself from a perspective of greatness. I am great. So who am I and what am I to do in this
Right.
world? So and then he comes back. He attribute this to finding his greatness to his father's positive arrogance. Son, you're the best. No one better than you.
Mm.
Tell your children that and help them develop that picture of them. Help them be that dark room where that picture comes alive, right? In that room so they can go out and spread their light. This is a beautiful one. I love it. So
Wow.
I'll
And
read a
it's
few of the
easy too,
comments.
right? I said,
Right.
I was just looking at here. It said like it's so easy and so pleasurable to participate in someone's life by saying a few constructive words like that Charlene Hunter Galt remembered his father's words. You know what I mean? So imagine there'd be something that you say to somebody that they'll never forget. You know, I'm sure we all can say we've had someone that came up to us like, you remember you said this one thing to me? I really needed to hear that day.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So you might be that person. So don't hold that compliment. When you see somebody do something great, let them know that they did something great and have a participatory role in somebody's life where you're being a positive encouragement, a positive motivator, and just let them know that they did a good job. You never know how much that'll change them. But what were you going to say, Mom? You want to look at those comments?
I do, but you just made me think of something else. So this person did not go in the world empty with that ego, looking to
Mm,
be praised and satisfied. They were able to get that at home, which is where our children should get it. Like we should send them out in the world full, like
right.
full. I know who I am. I'm not out here searching because life's going to happen to them and we must prepare them for that. And then the friends, it says, imagine yourself with no friends. I'm going to tell you guys the right friends. Make sure you have the right people in your life. Don't be praising people. And I said it just like I want to, don't be praising people in your life just for that ego or for the mass. Sometimes you have to let people go, friends, family, and all. You ain't down, we ain't down. And it's just, I had to learn that. I had to learn that. So I'll get some of these comments in. And Brandon, if you want to get some off of Instagram after that, and we'll work to close it. Brother Mike's out there. He was the first one, I think. So thank you for joining us. He says, good morning, KL. Nelda, by way of Nelda Brown, says, good morning. Positive arrogance is an oxymoron. He says, I had the same experience, Brandon. I think he was speaking about what you were talking about, experiencing the differences when you came here. Let's see. I'm just going to kind of stick them out there. And then being traveled. Okay, KL, you have to help me with that one. He says you went to school in UT Knox with his cousin. So KL is on us this morning. Okay, y'all go check him out there. All right, so he says a lot here. I won't bring them all in. So Brandon, let's get your comments from Instagram.
Yeah, my ones from Instagram was just a lot of just people saying, "Hey, brother, how you doing?"
Okay.
Sending love, sending that positive encouragement and pats on the back. That's all I got,
Okay.
mainly from my brother Corbin, who I mentioned. So what we got here? Let me see this one you pulled up. As a teenager, I was able to go back home and provide a different perspective to my family from my experiences around the world. And just the opposite, people up north think that Southerners are uneducated and dumb. There is no validity to that, but people in the South aren't privileged to a lot of the freedoms people, especially Black people, have in other areas. Yeah, and that's just a legacy, the legacy of slavery and the continued legacy of Jim Crow, I believe. You know what I mean? Which has an impact on the generational psyche of people. And every time there's like an uprising of thought, it's usually confiscated, decentralized, and reappropriated um, by other communities. You know what I mean? So like for hip hop, for example, like Black people don't own hip hop, you know, but they're the main ones in it. NBA, we don't own it by and large. NFL, we don't. We're the players, not the owners in many cases. So this inequity between the ones producing and the ones taking the bulk has always been at play in some of these what I call plantation style organizations. Um, and that can have an impact on psyche. But at the same time, like, we have a responsibility to give each other credit where credit is due. If nobody else gives it, we give it. Do you know how related? And this is specifically for my African American brothers and sisters. Do you know how related you are to the average African American, especially in the South? You are very closely related to the people in your community. You have to remember that different plantations would get the men and the women to have children all the way. So the cross pollination of our genetics is so interwoven because of slavery. So when we call each other brother, it means something different. You know what I mean? So to me, that's something interesting. And so whatever you say to others, remember you're saying that to yourself. Also, imagine the like how people feel when you are in that state of positive arrogance. It's looked at as arrogance because so many people, like you said, man, come out with lack. They come out
Mhm.
lacking, trying to fill the holes, fill the gaps that they didn't get at home. And so if you come out with, all your gaps filled, you come out already full, already confident, not having to gain the affirmation of anyone else because you got it at home. They look at you like, what's wrong with you? You're not validating my reality, which is coming from a place of lack, a
Right,
place of
right,
poverty. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So I don't want to get too long on that, guys. I know we got to
Brandon,
go.
okay, I gotta say one more thing, and this is gonna be my last
All
thing. I
right,
promise, I
all right.
promise, when you start talking, I'm gonna close my ears. And you kind of just validated it. So, why do we feel good when we are praised? Because praise is an acknowledgement and confirmation of our worth. Praise tells us that we are respected,
Mhm.
needed, and appreciated, that we belong. You guys, and we want that from our family. You know why I'm so excited when my brother's out there? Because he's my brother. And like, if he can't do it, who else is going to do it? That's how. And with my family alone, like this show, this podcast could surpass the numbers. There's 17. My grandmother had 17 kids, and they had kids, and they have kids died, right? So the people who God allowed us to embrace, like as family, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel like we're so lack because we don't have their approval. We don't feel like we belong with them. And yesterday I said, love the people that you love. And I know you love your brother. I know you love your sister, your cousin.
Hmm.
Start there with the love. Love yourself and then extend it to your family, right? Because that family needs it and expects it back. They want it back, right? They need it. So praise tells us that we are respected, needed, and appreciated, that we belong. And the person who wrote this quote went out in the world feeling respected, needed, appreciated, and that they belonged somewhere. So they weren't looking for somewhere. They weren't longing for something, right? They had all that they need. And truth be told, that's what we're looking for. That's what we want. And let's make sure we raise our babies with that. Let's not send our babies out in the world lacking. Over to you, Brandon.
Sounds good. I'm gonna do that with my two. Y'all, thank y'all for rocking with us this March 13th on our 42nd day of In This Season podcast with my
Okay.
powerful mother, the butterfly, and myself. We appreciate y'all. And we're going to end this the same way that we do every single show by reading our title, our distinguished quote, and then our affirmation 3 times. One for me, one for you, and one for the person that you're going to send this to. Please make sure that you send this podcast to someone that you know and love. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, let the algorithm know that this is the type of content that you love, that you want to see more of, and we'll be here every single day, same time, same place, 7 a.m. with daily motivations for African American success by Dennis Kimbro. So today's title was Instant Credit, and our quote from distinguished African American was from Charlene Hunter Galt. who said, "My father always told me that I was the best, that there was no one better than me. Being able to define myself is something I attribute to my father and his positive arrogance." And the affirmation for today is, I will give praise where praise is due. Whether that's to me, to you, or to somebody else, I will give praise where
Where
praise is due. This is what we want you to go out and do today. Find people to give praise to. First off, give praise to God. Then let yourself know that you've been doing a good job, that you are worthy of greatness. And then go out there and do that for somebody else. When you see somebody do something good, or they achieve one of their goals, let them know that you're proud of them. Let them know that it was inspirational. Let them know how you truly feel about it if you think that it's good, and give it where it's due. Not little frivolous, light-weighted compliments, but a real compliment. They will know the feeling when you give them that real. So I will give praise where praise is due. Thank
is
y'all so much. We will see y'all tomorrow, 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll be right back. Take care, y'all. Peace.